the American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved.
Hello, and welcome to the Freedom of Thought podcast. I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Freedom of Thought is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today as we celebrate Memorial Day weekend. I am standing in Lakewood Cemetery in the G.A.R. section for the Civil War, 1861 to 1865. I believe I posted a reel as well, so if you want to see what it looks like, it's on the Facebook page and the Instagram. So this probably will be a fairly short episode, but depending on how things go, maybe I'll kind of stop and go from one place to another to remember some veterans and such. But yes, right here in this is the G.A.R. G.A.R. 1861, 1865, of course, Civil War veterans. I tend to gravitate towards the Civil War for some reason because it's so long ago, and you want to remember these men and how it's all American, and you know, obviously it was so many years ago and all the sacrifices people made for one thing or another. Obviously, it eventually became about slavery, but it wasn't all about that at the beginning necessarily. So, well, I'm standing right in front of one right now, Norman Mosier, Colonel 1, looks like, Minnesota Infantry, Civil War 1830 to October 5th, 1902. So, yep, that's one example right there, just honoring certain men that served in this war. Luckily, it looks like a lot of these actually survived the war. So, I mean, if they lived in 1902, 1903 and such, like Sergeant Charles Clayton right here from Maryland originally, but is buried here in Minnesota. Must have moved here later on in his life, 1838 to 1902. Unfortunately, not all of these graves are marked with people. Just the stick here, the G.A.R. stick with the star and the flag. So maybe who knows what the reason is for that. Yeah, I mean, who knows? You don't know if they maybe just unmarked graves. Unfortunately, obviously, there's unmarked Civil War graves all over the country, I'm sure, including in Minneapolis. It was once called Maple Hill Cemetery. It later on became Beltrami Park because it was kept in such poor condition. It just wasn't well maintained, and a lot of some of the soldiers that were buried there, Civil War soldiers. It was an extremely old cemetery, in fact, the oldest in Minneapolis, where a lot of the soldiers were moved to this cemetery in Minneapolis, close to Lake Calhoun or Bas-Meska, however you want to call it. I still say Calhoun, I guess. No offense to anybody that wants it to be Bas-Meska, but they were moved here, and then others were just kind of left unmarked and just left there. So where people are playing around in the park, playing bocce ball or swimming or whatever, there's Civil War soldiers buried there. It's pretty crazy to think about, and some of the oldest settlers of Minneapolis as well. And obviously you got some of the most wealthy and prominent settlers, or like founding fathers of this Twin Cities area, buried here in this cemetery. But of course today we're honoring these soldiers, like Ryle Caidlin right here, private, died on July 24th, 1919. So must have been a little bit younger. I mean, there's Civil War soldiers that lived well into the 1920s. It doesn't mean they were little kids necessarily when the war took place. They just had a longer life, and good for them. Yeah, because 1940 to 1903 here, Justin Knight, I believe he was also in the reel. Yeah, he was only 63 here. So some of them might have died young. Maybe they had injuries. Maybe they had PTSD, post-trauma syndrome, stuff like that. I can't even imagine some of the hell some of these men and women went through. Mostly men here. This one lived a very long life. Joseph Dunning, 1847 to 1935. See how a lot of them lived to a point where they could have seen movies. I mean, think about that. You go from being like a young man during the Civil War to a point you saw World War I, you saw movies. It's pretty wild, actually. Obviously, you saw, Spanish-American War, which is also on the back and forth of, it's right at the end of the 19th century and such, where Civil War veterans, most of their lifespan was during the 19th century, but some of them did pass over into the 20th century. This one unfortunately did not. Christian Sindorf passed away in 1893, but of course lived a fairly long life, born in 1835. This one really, wow, much older. William Athy, I believe is how you pronounce it. First lieutenant, cool. 1827, so he must have been obviously an older guy already by the time of the Civil War. Still younger than what I am today. I think he'd have been in his upper 30s, I do believe. Yes, and died in 1894. Born in 1827. Interesting. William Athy, first lieutenant. I salute you, sir. So, yeah, this is what it's all about. And I'm going to keep saying it over and over. I'm just repeating myself, but this is just part of the Civil War section. There's other sections, Spanish America and World War I, World War II, and such. Maybe I'll try to head to those in a little bit. Sorry if I sound out of breath. It's not like I'm moving that quickly. No, this one unfortunately has a... I'm going to try to be... Well, what is this rag? Looks like, yeah, it's kind of faded. Born in 1812. Woo! 1812. Thomas Jefferson and all that. Thomas Jefferson was president, I do believe. And, of course, the War of 1812. He was born that year. Died in 1895. But what I'm trying to say is, unfortunately, a Mason. Yeah, there's unfortunately a Mason insignia on that one. So I don't really agree with the Masons on a lot of things. It's kind of probably goes without saying. Secret society, secret oath, secret proceedings. No, not a good thing. Yeah, some of these are much, 1824 here, Johann. Wow, cool. Johann Anderson must have been what would that be? Swedish? Must have been Swedish. That's my guess. Cool, because it's like not Johan. There's a difference. Johan would be like Latino, like Johan Santana, who used to pitch for the Twins years ago, or so many other names. Interesting one here. Hiram Jeremiah McKee, 1837, first sergeant. Cool. 1837 to 1894. Unfortunately, did not live a very long life. Not too short, but luckily survived the war. 1841 to 1894. Looks like George Gloyer. That's a different kind of last name. Cool looking headstone there, or not headstone, but stone there marking. The headstone, of course, the big G.A.R. statue with the statue on top, the bronze statue. So, yeah, this is, that's an interesting one. 1852, Mother Hannah Pohl. Maybe she was helpful or something. Must have been a medic or something. 1852, that's pretty young. So she must have been a young lady helping out. Maybe preach, or, like praying for them, the soldiers. Obviously Catholic if she's called Mother. So, interesting. And I'm sure the needed some needed some prayer, of course, a lot of these men. David Henry Ball, private indeed, in the infantry, which is probably the scariest part, arguably. Oh, that scared the crap out of me. The squirrel came out of the cannon here. I was like, ooh, what is this, a ghost or some kind of person walking up to me or something? No, I try not to think about ghosts when I'm in a cemetery. But I guess you never know if you come at night. Ooh. But familiar spirits is a better way of putting it. So, very cool cannon. I'm guessing this is the real deal. And then there's John Bidwell. The cannon's kind of overshadowing his stone here. Unfortunately, it must have been a corporal. Well, maybe he was a colonel, 1841 to 1907. John Bidwell. God bless you, John. And I salute you. There's another one. Yep, is it a colonel? Colonel or corporal? I wish I could. It's probably colonel, which is important. No, it's not. It's corporal. Because colonel is COL. That's a very high rank. You know, that's Mexican War and the Civil War. Interesting. Reuben Nightingale. Cool name. 1826 to 1911. Ooh. So, yep. Some of these obviously. There's another Mason one. Yeah, lots of Mason and insignia on this one. Wisconsin Voluntary Infantry. Jesse Cornish. Yep, definitely a corporal right there. Yep. Corporal. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So this one looks like the Navy here. Theodore Golden, Navy in the Civil War. Yeah, there was some naval to it, not as much, but some. Might have been on the rivers or something, but obviously there was some naval to the Civil War, not nearly as much as say like World War II. You know, like massive Navy campaign during that war, and World War I as well. But World War II much more than any of them actually. That was pretty amazing, actually. Well, maybe we'll head that direction here. So we're going to step away here for a moment and... Welcome back to Freedom of Thought. Now I'm at the another memorial here. This one's kind of like a group of Civil War veterans. Spanish-American War, 1898. Yep, right at the end of the 19th century. And World War, that would be the Great War, of course, the First World War. Yes, the Great War, as they like to call it. So, yes, of course, again, honoring a lot of these. Yeah, 1873 to 1925, definitely Spanish-American right there. Or no, it looks like he might have been Father Harris Ray. The mother, Sarah Haney. Yep, so lots of Civil War veterans still hanging around. Some of them living into the 1930s. Impressive. Yep, they're everywhere, of course, looking for the different dates and such. Yeah, most of these are Civil War still. Chase Madison, Ava Madison, they must have met during the war, which I'm sure happened quite a bit. No surprise there. 1888, Callahan, Susan, and Mary. Interesting. Yeah, that must be the mother. Mary's the mother, 1851. Whew. Yep, going way back. Robert Alden, Civil War, right? Pretty young right there, 1847 to 1926. Young during the war, of course. Not now, obviously. So looking for different groups here. Mostly Civil War, looks like. Yeah, a lot of people died in the Civil War. Apparently Minnesota had some of the most deaths. Apparently during the Gettysburg, the Battle of Gettysburg, more Minnesotans died in that battle than any other state, which I find that odd. I mean, Minnesota wasn't that old yet, so that just seems very, very odd to me at the end of the day. Here we go. This one must be Spanish-American. Yes. Fred West, 1878 to 1922. Did not live very long, unfortunately. I'd be like, yeah, that's crazy. It's not a very long life. Nope. So, I mean, I guess you just don't know. You don't know what kind of things took place during the course of some of these men and women during their lifetime. Wish I could find some of the World War veterans, but I'm not seeming to find them at the moment. I do apologize for that. Finally finding a few World War veterans. Apparently World War II here. Floyd P. Valley, private, U.S. Army, born in 1902. Lived until 1978, I believe. Yep, 1978. So, World War II veteran. Wow, born in 1902. Must have been a higher ranking person because he would already be, 40-ish. So, that's pretty cool. This one has a Jewish star on it. Maurice Rubin. 1903 to 1975, probably World War II, most likely. 1918, yep, Arvid Ree, interesting. So yes, World War veterans, of course, saluting you as well. Oscar, I can't read it too good. Adolf Hitler, 1893 to 1966. Probably World War I in that case, most likely, right? So, yeah, that's a World War I veteran, most likely. That would be about that time. I'm at the Elks Rest area now, which is right across from where that other group was. Mostly still Civil War veterans over there, but again, nothing wrong with that. I mean, God bless the Civil War veterans. But you want to kind of get an idea. You want to kind of represent some of the other veterans of war, of course, during the course of time. Some of these might have been just soldiers because of the in-between time, but still, more than likely, they served in a war of some sort. Like this one, 1912. Interesting, quite young. Ellsworth. That's like my mom's side. There's some Ellsworths. Like my dad's dad, or my great grandfather was an Ellsworth, I do believe. So, pretty crazy. Yep. Sorry for the noise, but what do you expect, right? We're outside. You're going to get planes, and there's an airport fairly close by, of course. That'd be MSP. Yep, pretty awesome. No doubt about that. Sherman Smith, 1864 to 1908. Maybe Spanish American era. Yep. Probably about that time. A lot of, well, I don't know though. No, it's so hard to say. Some of them maybe they just served in the military. They weren't necessarily veterans. This one, probably. Chase Biller probably was. Yep. So I think you get the general concept. Maybe I shouldn't just stare at graves and go over everything, but it is nice to remember names of people that served so long ago and, helped this country maintain its freedom one way or another. Whether you agree with the way the wars went, with the way this country went about the wars or not, because not every war is necessary, of course, but sometimes it kind of is what it is. Obviously, World War II kind of was what it was. How we got into it, I don't know. A little bit funky there when it came to Roosevelt, but that'd be Franklin, of course, since we had two Roosevelts. But again, it kind of is what it is, and it's so long ago. Not a whole lot any of us can do about that, unfortunately. All kinds of rumors and such with how things went about with Pearl Harbor and such, but we're going to stay off of that right now. August McNeely, 2nd, Minnesota Infantry, okay, 1843 to 1921. That's 99.999% chance of Civil War veteran right there. 1840s, that's Civil War for sure. So, like, what else could they be? So, yes, mostly Civil War. There's a lot of Civil War veterans, a lot of Civil War soldiers that, well, at least they survived. That's the good part. Some of them, I think, when they're unmarked graves, those probably didn't. And unfortunately, maybe they just didn't know who they were, and it was like a mass burial many, many, many years ago. That's what I'm guessing is the case, these unmarked graves. That's probably what happened. It's men that did not survive, men and possibly women that did not survive. That's my guess. So, unfortunately, so we're going to remember those especially. They gave the ultimate sacrifice. I'm standing in front of a bunch here with no stone, no marker of any kind, just veteran. Just a veteran tag here with the flag, tag with the flag, if it's okay to say, remembering you and giving you, who gave the ultimate sacrifice to this country, a moment of silence. Thank you so much, veterans of Civil War, World War I, World War II, obviously Revolutionary War, way, way back. Talk about ultimate sacrifice there, as, men like the, obviously that started all that, the Sam Adamses and such, that said, hey, enough is enough, enough is enough. We're not going to let you guys control us anymore. Britain, we're not going to let you control us. We're going to start our own nation here, and you're not going to control us anymore. So obviously huge respect to those people, because that's the ultimate statement and the ultimate risk, as the British Army was all over the place. So, of course, that's Revolutionary War, 1776. It was an amazing time, no doubt about it, but a scary time as well when you consider what those people had to go through. So, obviously, super important to remember them. Obviously, no Revolutionary War veterans in this cemetery, because it's not that old. It'd be awesome to go out east and see some of those, because that's where, most of them are going to be. Some Revolutionary War veterans probably lived well into the 1800s, I'm sure, but obviously not all of them. But, obviously not all of them, and we're going to remember them as well, of course. Sorry for the noise here. Just kind of moving around. So,
waiting for pairing.
I apologize. That's kind of tacky. So my apologies for the tacky background noise here. But it's because I'm outside moving around. This is a mobile show. A lot of times, freedom of thought is when you're walking around thinking, and of course, in this case, remembering the veterans of the mini wars and such, that a lot of them gave the ultimate sacrifice. Other cases, PTSD, post-trauma syndrome, that type of thing. So, you feel for these people, you sympathize for them, you sympathize with them, and you respect them, especially on a weekend like this. So, obviously, people that are, that have served in Iraq, like Mark Carlson, of course, who you've heard about many times on this show, and I'm going to salute you many, 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 many times and forever. Mark Carlson from Iowa, Mark from Iowa. I'm going to look and see possibly if there's a comment from him on the Instagram. The Instagram, I'm going to open that up real quick here, moving it around. You have to press the button a couple times to get there, unfortunately, which is annoying. Sometimes it doesn't pop up right away. It's all these other accounts. Freedom_of_thought 1776, and I'm getting the infamous spinning wheel, which I know people just love that. See if there's any comments. One was liked by Jessica Eiler. Cool. Old classmate. So a lot of this goes into the previous episode, which is totally fine. But yeah, they really had fun doing the little reel, so check it out if you want to see the G.A.R area. A little bit more people are here at this one, kind of working together, kind of putting something together for the Memorial Day ceremony tomorrow for this area. I always try to come the day before because there's less people, and I could have time to, admire and respect these soldiers, pay my respects to them. Now, when rather than having a bunch of people around, and you can't really do much. So this place can get awfully busy, I'm sure, during this time of year. Because, well, thankfully there are enough people around that still honor and respect the veterans that, again, gave the ultimate sacrifice one way or another. So God bless all of you. Thank you for listening. So definitely a show that is about the military, the Navy, the Marines, all of you. I respect you so much. And again, thank you for your service. One way or another, thank you so much for your service. If you served in a war, or maybe you didn't, maybe it was kind of those in-between years. Still, you were there for us. You were there for us when you needed to be. Maybe you had to carry out some operations that were tough, very difficult. So, Navy SEALs, that's another one, of course. A big group of elite men and women that served this country. And God bless all of you. That's what I have to say about that. So, again, thank you so much for listening. Sorry if it's just felt like I'm just rambling here. But it's not about ramble. It's about respecting and honoring the veterans. And that's what we're here for on this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, you're looking forward to, it's kind of like the unofficial start of summer. Yeah, it sort of kind of is. But, yeah, but it's there's more to it than that. And again, coming on the day before Memorial Day, especially when it's, overcast skies and not very warm, that's like a veteran move on my part. But without, veteran as in is an experienced person, not somebody that served in a war, but a veteran move that way. So a little bit of moderate humor there, I suppose, if it's okay to use that. But again, I think I've made my point. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tell your friends about it, and let's honor and remember all these veterans every day. With that said, thank you. Take care. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.